Alright, so I came to this yard earlier today and worked through it. These bees hit the ground here in Michigan back in the beginning of May, the first week of May. They hit the ground here, made a little bit of honey on the early crops. That honey I just pulled off today. Went through and did an inspection on the brood. The brood, not great. Some of it doing pretty good, some of it kind of patchy. Just had a little bit of everything going across the board. So after going through everything and getting an assessment, I decided to go ahead and pull the honey off, which I pulled off and threw that up there on the truck. So honey's on the truck. Empty supers are stacked over there on the far side of the yard. And then I went through and divided all of the brood and resources into individual single deeps. All of them 5 frames of bees, brood, and resources. Stacked everything up, no excluders, parent hives and everything, and put a mite treatment to them all. So now these bees, there's multiple queens, 2 to 3 queens in each one of these stacks. They're gonna go through and equalize out. Those queens will get killed off, and in 3 days I've got cells hatching. So I'm gonna take these in 2 days, let them sit here for 2 days like this. 2 days from now I'll pull them off, spread them out onto different pallets. Make sure, you know, I'm not getting splits from the same hive on the same pallet. I kind of keep track of where that stuff is. So you can see this pallet right here, it's got 2 stacks. Those were 4 hives. Those 4 hives each made a split. So right there we got 8 hives total. That'll break down into 8 hives, 8 singles. 4 of those were the original hives. So I'll kind of take them from there and spread them onto different pallets. All of those will go on different pallets. So we'll take like those 2 top ones, they'll go on a pallet. The next 2 will go on a pallet. The next 2 will go on a pallet. Those ones will stay on that pallet, and then we'll pull, say, one from that top one. We'll go into that spot. That top one over there, and that's a bad pallet, but that top one will go into that spot. We'll just kind of spread it around so that these bees, they don't have a competing home next to them. They're more kind of spread out. They don't really know where home is at that point. By the time we spread them all out, they've been mixed together. There's no more queens. The reason I'm doing it this way is because, like I said, some of the hives were pretty good and some of them were pretty shoddy. So I just wanted to kind of mix all the brood up and make sure everybody had a good start. As you see, there's a lot of bees here. This was originally 40 hives, and I don't know how many. I'll have to go through and count and see how many parents I actually started with here. When the yard came in here, it was 40 hives, but when I came here this morning, there were maybe 10 dead outs. I mean, they've been sitting here a little bit. All in all, I think it'll work out pretty well. We've done this before and had pretty good acceptance with it, but I just kind of wanted to show you guys what we were doing here. Sometimes when you pull into a yard and look at some bees, sometimes you just gotta take everything back to ground zero, make everything equal, and start over. And it's kind of hard to beat a brand new queen. A lot of these queens were from the fall. All the bees that came up here early, they were from the fall. Some of them had requeened and they didn't get a real good queen back. They kind of requeened themselves because the old queen they weren't happy with. She timed out, and they're naturally going to do that. The unfortunate thing is they just didn't get a real good one back, so they were going backwards because of that. I think here, these bees right here, in a month from today, they're going to look a lot different. They'll be a lot better. So I'm just going to pick the whole yard up and move them out of here, move them into a different location, and I'll drop cells in them, and I'll drop feed jars on them to make sure they get a little shot of feed. I'll give them a little pollen patty, about half a pound of pollen a piece, and then go back and look at them in 3 to 4 weeks, and just see how those cells have accepted. But should be pretty good. if I can remember, I'll go through them in 3 to 4 weeks, and I'll show you guys a video of what they look like, so you can kind of see the end result of what we're doing here. Because like I said, sometimes this is the only option. I fight with myself to do it. I don't want to do it just because we got a good flow coming up, and I always fight with myself internally. Oh, they're gonna do good, they're gonna turn around. No, they're not gonna turn around. They're just gonna continue to go backwards, and then by the end of this flow, we'll get into the end of July here. Right now, today is July 2nd, so we'll get to the end of July and the flow will be done, and these bees will be mostly queenless, and the ones that aren't queenless will have such a bad brood pattern and such a low population that there won't be anything left to work with. So that's why it's important that we go through, we monitor the bees as we're going through the flow, and the ones that are lagging behind and not performing up to the other ones, we need to go ahead and do something with them now, because we're just going to lose them altogether by the end of the flow. That's where a lot of people run into their problems with thinking, oh, the bees look good. Because if you'd have come in here this morning and you'd have cracked the top box off, or the lid off, and looked at the top box, you said, oh, these bees are doing good, these bees are making honey, we got a lot of flow left to go, they're gonna kill it. But the sad thing is that underneath they're not doing good. Yeah, they might have honey up top, but that's not a determining factor of how good the bees are doing. That's how good the bees were doing. That changes very quickly, especially as we start winding down here soon. So yeah, that's what we're up against today, and yeah, I'll try to show you guys the end result of what we're doing here. But look at your stuff, make sure it's good. Don't wait till the last minute, because that's gonna be too late.